everyone. Welcome to episode 78 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best 90s Rap Hip-Hop Song. On today's episode, we're revisiting yet another golden era of music. As we continue our 90s trip down memory lane, we continue to respect the innovation and experimentation that was circulating through all genres at this time. A genre that benefited most from this surplus of origination and the influx of its new stars. Rap and hip-hop was beyond music. It seeped into the mainstream culture and consciousness by the way of style, attitude, and commercial appeal. You know you own the hottest property on the music landscape when cartoons, grandmas in commercials, and athletes are all borrowing from you for your mainstream credibility. While rap at the time was being criticized for its focus on misogyny, capitalism, violence, and drugs, you couldn't deny it was also an important time for social consciousness, telling stories mainstream media didn't want you to hear, politically savvy commentary, and celebration. You couldn't compartmentalize this genre because the groundswell of attention and levity it was giving a generation who refused to be drowned out a profound, intense identification, and it beguiled an important demographic, and those people not only purchased the albums, their identity was bound to an entire culture. This conversation is a continuation of why 90s music, especially rap and hip-hop, were a huge transitional period for pop culture, expression, and how it gave us this bountiful nourishment. This week, Formidable Opponents is talking best 90s rap / hip-hop song. As always, I'm joined by two guys who were once held over a balcony by Suge Knight, both on separate occasions. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
Very, very well, thank you.
I was gonna say real quick. I was like, man, come on, man, this hip hop, be cool. Like you sound way too excited on that intro.
Yeah. Quit apologizing, bro. That's not rap. That's not 90s hip hop. That's not gangster rap.
I was waiting for the yo boy, what's up? No, we already cut that shit.
No, that's staying on. You're gonna be called J-Dog for the rest of the
J-O-S.
If Kenny can hardly wait, say it. So can I.
That's funny, man.
It's cold in Texas, guys. Let's hope that the grid holds up throughout this recording. I have my doubts, but we'll see what happens. So, guys, what were your first experiences as fans of this genre? Can you recall when you first started listening to rap, hip hop, how you became a fan?
MTV music videos. I mean, they're the big thing in the 90s. And you know, that's when I kind of like got on to 90s hip hop and rap and seeing the music videos. Obviously, like the Snoop Doggy Dogg, Dr. Dre, a lot of different groups and artists that were putting out music videos and like catchy and funny and like things that you'd be interested in as well. So it was different. And that's how I really got my experience. Also from friends, you know, Rico, shout out to Rico. This is a guy we're in 6th grade going to baseball practice. You know, he was jamming to Bone Thugs and Harmony and, you know, trying to get everybody on the damn team to listen to it and go buy their album and you know, and wear his Nike Cortezes. But other than that, it's just a lot of that music videos, listening to music from friends, stuff like that. Yeah,
I can add to that. I think another part of it too, for both of us, Bob, is you know, it was random. I mean, if you're not aware, he had an impressive collection of gangster rap cassette tapes. And when we were younger, when we were hanging out, you know, Rand would play some of that music, and he's a music fan. He obviously likes all genres of music. So a lot of the first experiences with and the music videos too, hanging out and watching, you know, the early MTV era and the rap and hip hop songs that were coming out. And was all hanging out with you, Ren.
I remember I was in 7th grade. It was 1990, and a friend of mine let me borrow his NWA and the Posse cassette, and it had like Dope Man. NWA and the Posse had Dope Man, 1,000 Miles and Running. I had some song about cops. I can't remember. Anyway, so I remember listening to this cassette and just being taken aback by everything. It was like a whole new landscape, a whole new world. You know, we come from a very homogenous part of the country where, you know, 96, 97% of the people down in the valley, they're Latino. So we weren't exposed to a lot of culture beyond MTV and beyond what we saw in the theater. And that music seeped in as you got older because you started to listen to other things your friends started picking up on. So I remember I had my Raider satin jacket. I had the White Sox baseball cap, just a chubby, greasy boy who couldn't pass algebra or talk to girls, listening to like Two Life Crew, never reciting the lyrics in public. It was just an amazing time. And for two and a half years, that was my world. That the rap landscape was just, I was just listening to it every day, all day. You know, it was just so many things that was going on in my life, but I was just completely ensconced with rap music. So guys, we know that rap started, it has its roots in the 70s, became popular in the 80s, but really exploded in this era, in the 90s. What was the reason for the breakthrough of the 90s?
I think it was the storytelling at the time. The unfortunately, you know, some of the music, and I don't want to get too political or anything like that, but I think with what everything, a lot of this music that at the time, especially the early 90s of hip hop, and was storytelling and the stories from you know, specific areas of the country and whatnot, and they were captivating. Aside from, you know, just good beats and hooks and instrumentals, and that's kind of what I like about, you know, as far as when it comes to hip hop and R&B, and shout out to my boy Jesse, our friend Jesse, he always sends me something like of an artist. Maybe he tries to show me a new artist or something who has an old school beat reminiscent of the 90s. So it's just something that I like. So aside from the use of the instruments, we were, you know, taking drum, bass, guitar and whatnot and doing something different with them and giving them this better sound. It just worked perfectly. And I think it's just a great time for music.
Yeah, I agree 1,000,000%. I think there was a big change in culture as far as, like, you know, grunge music kind of took over the rock scene, and, you know, this gangster rap and hip hop that was both political, both funny, both had some funk to it, had some great beats, were instrumentals. You know, it was something different that we wanted to listen to. I think that people needed, because, you know, the 70s did offer some of the greatest type of music that we've seen in the 60s and 70s as far as rock music is concerned. 80s was kind of like funky, and 80s poppy, and, you know, cocaine, like Randy always says. And, you know, we wanted something different. You know what I mean? I think people were craving something different. We're going to a new decade of music. So that culture shift kind of thing, you know, got people in. I think music videos really helped. I think movies really helped as well. I mean, movies exploded in the 90s, showing a lot of that were based around rap and hip hop. It showed a lot of different, you know, House Party. You had Boys in the Hood. You had Above the Rim. You had Friday. You had a lot of big movies. Yeah, dude, you had a lot of big movies that, you know, maybe not introduced people to the culture, but, you know, got people more interested in the culture and the type of music. They had a lot of rap and hip hop music on the soundtracks for these movies. And, you know, me, I must have watched Friday a million times, Boys in the Hood, religiously as a kid, man. Such a great, you know, fuck that movie too. These are the type of movies that, you know, our show is about pop culture. And I think, you know, that really enthralled in pop culture at the time. And I think it's what really got people really into hip hop and rap in the 90s.
Yeah, good points, guys. You know, you mentioned movies, Bob. I had that in my third question, but I'll get to that later. As for me, I think it was more 90s rap, 90s hip hop was more integrated into the mainstream. You also had so many celebrities, athletes who grew up on this music, making it more mainstream. I think the concern and the crux of rap and hip hop culture reaching these platitudes is that everybody thought they could do it, or even worse, some of these acts were successful, like House of Pain and kind of like the things. Anyway, also, I think when rap rock was integrated, it was cool when rap acts were sampling rock songs. But when you had mainstream rock flirting with rap, maybe not wholeheartedly, but there were some of these in these embryonic stages integrating rap into rock, like Faith No More with Epic and Give It Away Now sounds a little, you know, there's some rhyme schemes there. But rap has always included a hard rock element. And we talk about it, guys, all the time, how we're rock fans to the core. But rap is rock, and they included a lot of the rock elements. They sampled a lot of rock music. Listen to the music Run DMC play. It's Tricky sampled My Sharona, Beastie Boys rhyming Scheming and Scheming sampled Led Zeppelin's When the Levee Breaks. Public Enemy had Living Color's Vernon Reid playing guitar on Sophisticated Bitch off their first album. They sampled rock tunes, and it worked. It was magic, because when I was listening to rap in the 80s, the only like single rapper I knew was Curtis Blow, and he sang, Basketball. And then Run DMC became ubiquitous. Run DMC was the biggest rap act in the 80s. The Beastie Boys came along, my favorite musical artist. But in the 90s, you had like this influx, this like pool of talent that was coming left and right. And I think this was the decade where rap and hip hop really took over the mainstream culture. So outside of music, guys, what are some of the most important contributions 90s rap and hip hop have given us?
For me, I'll say new metal, I guess. Specifically, I mean, I know it's kind of like, it just kind of goes back to what you said about how this rap and rock thing. Look, I understand, new metal gets a bad rap, but it's clear its influence, and I heard enough heaviness in the music and enough, quote unquote, rhyming and rapping. I heard enough of both to really enjoy, this style of music. And like I said, I know it gets a bad rap, but it's a combination of two of our favorite genres of music. I mean, we talk about them, or finally, trying to do our best to do justice to this topic today, but we've talked at length about rock music, and that genre was a combination of both. So for me, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's a huge influence and contribution to a genre of music that I particularly like.
So I think sports was a big deal. I think you saw a lot of mainstream, because sports was becoming big in the 90s too. In the 80s, it was very, basketball was just coming of age in the 80s. Everybody knew, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. In the 90s, you had so many superstars, being led by Michael Jordan, but you had Shaquille O'Neal, who rapped, Allen Iverson.
Terribly, by the way.
He was good with Fushnik. But anyway, you had all these, artists and singers. And I think sports was a big element as to why rap became more and more mainstream. I think movies, and Bob, you hit on this point earlier. I listed some of these movies. Juice, where I was first introduced to Tupac, who was phenomenal in that movie. Boys in the Hood, Dead Presidents, Above the Rim, Judgment Night, which has a great rap soundtrack. Don't sleep on Judgment Night. It's a cool 90s movie, but the soundtrack is amazing. Political statements were being made. Bands like Public Enemy were coming to the forefront and talking about human rights and trying to push the needle forward and using lyrics and rap and music to get that message across, because that's what young people listen to. They listen to music. They listen to lyrics, and that's what gets people to move. And that's why I think the 90s is such an important decade for not only that social justice aspect, but understanding and learning about what the country is about and what it's not about. We'll go ahead and move on to honorable mentions. Joseph, we'll start off with you. Who'd you have for your honorable mentions?
I was going to try to not say all of them, but I feel like I have to. So let me just run through these real quick, guys. I got NWA, Boys in the Hood, Ghetto Boys, Mind's Playing Tricks on Me. Love that song. Wu-Tang Clan, Cream, and Triumph, both some of my favorite songs. Some of my favorite songs. Bonita Applebum from A Tribe Called Quest. God, I love that song.
Great song.
I don't know if y'all know this one. Set Adrift on Memory Bliss by PM Dawn. Are you familiar with this one? I love this song. It's sample. I think it's a great fucking song. It samples Spandu ballads.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's a great.
He drops Christina Applegate's song.
Yeah,
this song. Yeah,
and actually, it's a throwback to Bonita Applebum. Anyway, gotta get through this. Shook Ones Part 2, Mobb Deep, of course, Juicy, Notorious B.I.G., Smile by Scarface featuring Tupac. What a great fucking song. Nothing But a G Thing, Dr. Dre, of course, The Crossroads. Bob mentioned them. Warren G, Regulate, featuring the late great Nate Dogg, the man who was the hookup for the best hooks. Tupac, I Ain't Mad at You. Outcast, Aquemini, Lunas, I Got 5 on it, Old Dirty Bastard, Shimmy Shimmy Y'all, OPP, Naughty by Nature, of course, Jay-Z, Can I Get a, Lauryn Hill, Doo Wop That Thing, Fugees, Ready or Not, Master P, Make 'Em Say Lord Tyreek and Peter Guns, Deja Vu. I gotta stop right there because if I keep going, I'm gonna fucking be here for a while. I'll just stop right there.
How are you gonna pick a winner?
You're like Fat Five Freddy, man. Jeez.
Like he liked everything. That's right.
Bob, what do you got for us?
Oh, you have to start off with Nothing But a G Thing, but Dr. Dre, which the Chronic, that album one of the best album of the rap hip hop albums of the 90s. Regulate by Warren G, Sabotage by the Beastie Boys, Hypnotized by Notorious B.I.G. You have to have a list with Notorious on there.
Yes,
All Eyes on Me and Picture Me Rolling by Tupac. California Love also added to that list. The Humpty Dance by Digital Underground. Very underrated, great fucking song. I mentioned this earlier, Bone Thugs and Harmony, The Crossroads. LL Cool J brought it out. Mama Said Knock You Out in 1990. So great song. And I'll end off with another little sweet one that I really personally loved. Skilos, I Wish. Great fucking song, man.
That song is kind of making a comeback. I've heard it on some TikTok videos. So yeah,
I'd rather hear that than the fucking Burger King song that keeps coming out.
So my honorable mentions, you gotta mention Good Vibrations, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. No, I'm playing. No, I got Regulate.
And that's our show, folks.
I got Regulate by Warren G and Nate Dogg. A little story about this song. I was visiting the Valley about 2 years ago. A buddy of mine, Alex, and I karaoke to the song, and we completely butchered it. Not an easy song to karaoke to, especially when you've been drinking a lot, and we just didn't do it any justice. I got five on it by Lunis, Players Ball by Outkast, The Humpty Dance, yes, Digital Underground. That album was huge. Sex Packets. I used to listen to it, day and night when I had that cassette. California Love by Dre and Tupac. This is a song. If you see like a 50-year-old guy, like when you're driving and he's at a stop sign and he's dancing, odds are it's to California Love by Dre and Tupac, because that song will get you moving. If I Ruled the World by Nas, Mind Playing Tricks on Me by the Ghetto Boys, Scenario by Tribe Called Quest. What a fantastic band. Flavor in Your Ear by Craig Mack, Party Up by DMX, Sure Shot by the Beastie Boys, Ain't Nothing But a G Thing, Dre and Snoop. I think we all agree with that one. Big Papa, Notorious B.I.G., No Vaseline, Ice Cube, Hit 'Em Up, Tupac, The Crossover by EPMD, and also lastly, Fight the Power by Public Enemy. So
How did nobody mention Ice Ice Baby?
I know.
Ice?
I thought when you guys, we had talked about it when we were texting back and forth. We had said, okay.
I didn't say Informer by Snow.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to mention.
I really did want to.
Well, you said everything else. You said everything else, Joseph.
I know, right?
Joseph was going down. Like we just needed the white rappers at that point, because I think he mentioned everybody. But but Joseph, just a quick aside. You think Snow Informer is a good song? Maybe you didn't have it listed as one of your honorable mentions, but good song in your opinion, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a good song. I know it's a novelty song, but I'm also, because I've listened to that full album at length over and over again, I know there's other songs on that album that people would be surprised. They'd be like, "This is a Snow song," and I could say yeah, and I'd be like, "Wow."
You can't tell by the fast French accent rapping.
It's reggae.
There's other songs off of that album where he's not like necessarily
French
doing all that. So
I mean, telling absolute lie after lie in Informer, he never went through any of that shit. I will say this, and Bob, you mentioned this, Ice Ice Baby at the time, huge hit. I mean, it was one of the biggest hits of the early 90s. I think it came out in 1990. I remember I was in 8th grade. This song was everywhere. Why isn't it one of the best rap songs? Because I know it's novelty, but people still listen to it. People still love to enjoy listening to it. I know I do.
You want to know why? Because they had shitty white guy dancing in the music video. Some of the worst dancing you've ever seen for a rap hip hop. I can't take you seriously dancing like that. Come on, bro.
No, I mean, I think we mentioned a lot of great songs. And like I said, we were just talking about this earlier. We kept on listing because this era of music, this rap era, was just, I think it was the golden era of rap. I don't think you can go wrong with these selections.
I kind of wanted to suggest maybe we should like turn this into a bring your top 5 songs, and we'll just do a retrospect, episode. But because there was so many, like it was just hard to put this, hard to pick just one.
We could tell by the 16 choices.
So let me ask you guys this. No mention of Eminem. Was that because he came too late in the 90s, 1999?
I had him written down.
Oh, yeah, I do have him on this.
Yeah. My Name Is came out in 1999. And
first album.
That was a great song. That I mean, like whenever I think of Eminem, though, I always think of like the 2000s. Mm-hmm. Like I think he fits that new generation of genre, new generation of rap hip hop in the 2000s, early 2000s.
No Love for Kid Rock. No? Okay. All right. Let's move on.
What about MC Hammer? Nobody mentioned MC Hammer. He had one of the biggest fucking hits of the
the MC 90s. Hammer's best song wasn't his biggest hit. I think Turn This Mother Out was a good song. It just wasn't the best rap song, but he's a great dancer. Let's go ahead and go on to our selections. Joseph, who do you got for us?
I want to say before I get started though, Rand, for some reason you talked about karaoke and not getting the lyrics right because you're drunk. For some reason, when I am drunk, I can get all the lyrics right. And another thing too, before we get started, I know we all mentioned Tupac songs, and I know people might probably say, well, if none of us pick a Tupac song, I'm jumping the gun. I think Tupac is a category in its own. And that's something that we could probably maybe do down the line because those are just some great songs.
I think if we go down the line, I think it should be like East Coast, West Coast. Are you siding with Tupac? Or are you siding with Notorious B.I.G.? Who had the better career? Who had the best songs? I think that could be a great show, a great debate, rather than just saying, just solely talk about Tupac. So I think that'd be a great.
Well, I think they can both.
Pick a side.
They're two very polarizing artists that you could go 1-1. I'm just saying.
What's funny is that you could argue that Biggie had three of the biggest hits than Tupac, but Tupac has the catalog. I think, he's aces all around. I think Biggie has like three mainstream hits that everybody associates him with.
I think Tupac was just a more polarizing person, character, rapper, artist, actor,
poet,
activist. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Okay, settle down. There's one movie with Janet Jackson. All of a sudden, look at this guy. I'm just kidding. No, I think he's a polarizing character, and I think that's what people think of when they think of Tupac. He's this polarizing character. You think of Notorious B.I.G. and I agree. He did have bigger hits. He was more commercially successful than Tupac. But I think of looking them face to face. I mean, Tupac was this just polarizing character and person, and all the little things that he did in his life, as well as gangster rap, and then acting and poetry, and him being an activist, and how his music changed and evolved. Like, he's just a very interesting person.
And what I enjoy, and we're going to talk a lot about. I know, Joseph, we're stepping on your pick.
No, I welcomed it when I said
hesitating.
But when rap and hip hop dance tunes came out in the early '90s, you had like some like whack stuff like Me So Horny and all the 2 Live Crew stuff. But when Dr. Dre,
did you say whack?
Yeah, I did.
That was whack.
It is the '90s. So, but then when Dre and Tupac and all these guys took it over, the dance songs were really good. They were really sustainable. So they not only turned rap and hip hop into this entity of like, I got to listen to it because it tells a story. It also is some of the best memories of you having a good time and moving and listening to music with your friends. So they did a very important thing throughout the '90s. And that's why this era is so polarizing. But I digress. I'm sorry, Joseph. Go ahead.
All right. So I'll finally get to my selection, everybody. So I went with Still DRE, or Still Dre, if you want to call it that. Released just in time for me to call it the best hip hop rap song of the '90s. It's off of Dr. Dre's second studio album entitled 2001, even though it came out in '99. It's his first album in 7 years. The follow up to his landmark album, The Chronic. I mean, that shit's just incredible. A lot was at stake here for Dr. Dre. He had only released one compilation album off of his newly formed Aftermath Entertainment label, an album that he wasn't really featured on much, and it wasn't very popular among fans, to be honest. Dre felt he had to prove himself, and what better song to announce your return than Still DRE? I mean, that opening beat and piano notes, it's iconic at this point. There's TikTok videos and Instagram shit, where people are playing like random instruments to a random song, and then somehow it fades into Still Dre, and then the video that's where the video gets crazy, or whatnot. I remember the first time I heard the song, and knowing that it was a Dre song, and hearing Snoop featured and rhyming right from the start, it took me back to those classics like Deep Cover and Nothing But a G Thing and Dre Day. It's just a perfect combination, those two. I mean, to be honest with you, like it's weird how those two can get on a song or an album or whatever and just make fucking magic, to be honest with you. It's a great cruising song. It's easygoing. It has an easygoing stride. It just flows perfectly. What I've always liked about this song is it was Dre taking what he did so good, this G funk sound that he's known for, and bringing it and tweaking it a little bit to what I feel was a changing sound of hip hop. You know, around the corner was the whole No Limit Cash Money artist thing. People like Nelly, artists like Nelly, Ja Rule, 50 Cent, like Bob mentioned earlier, Ludacris, Lil Wayne, Eminem. There was a change coming in rap and hip hop, the early 2000s stuff, which we can get into another time. And that guy who used to be Kanye West. I mean, there was a whole new sound that was coming. And Dre took this song. It appealed to the classic early 90s, and I think it worked great with what was coming. And it was just, like I said, it's a perfect song. Down here, I mean, we were bumping the Houston rap song, so you know, it was a different time. It was obviously late, I mean, just before it released in November of 99, I believe, just before the coming of the 2000. And here's Dre saying, guess who's back? I'm still here, I'm still the king. Now check this shit out. I mean, this whole album was great. The last thing I can say about this song and its legacy is to look no further than last year's Super Bowl halftime show. Great show. Everybody talks about it. I watched the video of it earlier on YouTube, and honestly, I can't remember the last time I saw the whole crowd really enjoying a show like they did for this most recent one. And what was the final song of that show? It was still DRE, because that's the one you close it with. Dr. Dre doing his thing. This song, I think, it was perfect way to end the 90s. And it ended up, for me, being the best, if not one of the best. Guys?
I think they finished off with that song of the Super Bowl to appeal to the TikTok generation, Joseph. So just so you know, you're a TikToker now, buddy. I think, it's got some resurgence because of the whole TikTok things where they play that piano little instrumental, and then it goes into like a serious part of the video, like in a comical way. Still Dre's a great song. And I thought it was a badass follow-up album, which took him, like you said, 7 years. Was it 7 years, Joseph? 7 years to release the next album, which is pretty crazy. Amazing, considering the amount of talent and stuff that Dr. Dre has. You know, he could have put out an album every year in the 90s and would have gone, double platinum. There's like a Mount Rushmore of rap and hip hop artists in the 90s. I think you have Tupac, you have Notorious B.I.G., you have Snoop Dogg, and of course you have Dr. Dre. So I think you choosing a Dr. Dre song was right in the money. Now, I think that if it was me personally, I would have gone for, and I almost did, and then I kicked myself, and I talked myself out of it a few times. Gone with Nothing But a G-Thing Baby from the original The Chronic album. That album itself, I said earlier, is probably top 3 albums of the 90s. It was just fantastic. The amount of songs, the shit he put out. I mean, really, Dr. Dre was already a household name, but I mean, that shit put him over the top. I think it's more of a preference thing for me. Now, if we're going 90s and 90s sound and 90s rap and 90s hip hop, I feel like Nothing But a G-Thing Baby sounds more 90s than Still Dre. Maybe my only knock on it, you said it yourself, Still Dre kind of came out and it kind of ushered in the new generation, the new decade of rap. It had that new 2000s kind of sound. That'd be my only knock on it. But Nothing But a G-Thing, I think that if you had chose that, I probably would have just kept my mouth shut and drank my whiskey.
I will say this before I respond to any criticism of any song. By the way, all these songs are fantastic, but there's a little litmus test I kind of gave myself. I have a former student. His name is Jeremy Hines. He's an up-and-coming rapper from Houston. I'm sure he's fine with me dropping his name. He's got a song out called Yellow Tape. So, I sent him a message and I said, hey, man, love your song. And I dropped some lyrics and I talked a little rap with him, but I kind of felt like he was kind of like treating me like the old guy at the old folks home, kind of like he was kind of humoring me with his
grandma.
And it's funny because when you talk about this era of music, most of the people who were, at their youth and listening to, were all in their mid to late 30s, 40s and 50s who were listening to this song. So it's hard to sort of grasp how long ago this was, but how current it still sounds. And I think that's just a proclamation of the creative genius that all these artists gave to us. But anyway, Still Dre, 1.2 billion YouTube views. That was the most impressive thing. This song is the most recent of our choices and has the most views. So I will give you credit for that. A lot of people love this song. Caught the tail end of the 90s. As you mentioned, Joseph, November 1999 was the release. It reached the billboards twice, 2 different decades, 2 different millenniums, once in 99 and then again in 2001. A song that samples Super Mario Brothers. I think that's the joke, right? That it sounds like a Super Mario Brothers game. Anyway, great song. One of 17 songs that Dre reminds us that he's still hanging around, right? We never forgot about you, Dre. How could we? You never let us. Anyway, he brags about all the people he's mentored, Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Eminem, 50 Cent, he's like my Instagram stories at this point. But to me, this song is like the sickest resume ever. He talks about all his accomplishments. Of course, that's what many rap songs do. They talk about their accomplishments, what they've done over the years. And this was sort of Dre's, chronicle of what he's done. To me, it sounds like a better job interview than it is a song. I was half waiting for him to mention his familiarity with Microsoft. Never happened. Anyway, Dr. Dre is one of the best producers out there. He's made billions on that skill. Dr. Dre, the producer, fantastic. Dr. Dre, the rapper, good. He's good as a rapper, not the best. I do have a few Dre songs that I like better. Nothing But a G Thing, California Love, Let Me Ride, Deep Cover, Forgot About Dre, Remember Dre, Recall Dre, Need I Remind You About Dre, Don't Be Unable to Remember Dre, and Still Dre. All the Dre songs are great. Anyway, important to note that Jay-Z wrote the lyrics to this song. So he didn't forget about Dre. He might have forgotten about Beyonce every now and then, but he didn't forget about Dre. So let's just put it out there.
That's another story altogether.
Great song. Unlike the other 2 selections, which we'll get to, there's more hands in the cookie jar with this one. You got Dre, you got Snoop, you got Jay-Z, Hype Williams, Melvin Bradford, Scott Storch. The songs Bob and I selected were just a producer and a rapper. Essentially, it was a simpler time. When you talk about 90s rap compared to mid-90s rap compared to late 90s rap, there's such a bounce in all these, they're like mini eras in this one big old decade. I am complimenting how well crafted this song is. It is very well crafted. It's from a lab, but give me simplicity. And if you're going to sing about your beginnings, I would much rather listen to something more simple and basic. I think the charm of early 90s to mid 90s rap, I don't know. It's kind of like, I grew up in, I was in high school when the early and mid 90s. It's kind of like that old saying when they talk about SNL, your favorite cast is the cast that you were in when you were in high school. It's kind of like with me. My favorite rap songs were the songs I was in high school listening to. This song, I was in college. It was a little, past my rap listening days, but great song. I just like some simple songs a little better. I don't know. We're going to talk about my selection. So I went with It Was a Good Day by Ice Cube. I just want to start off by saying, if you could write a song about a day, now that's talent. You nor I can write a song about a day in the life of what we have. Only Ice Cube could do it so brilliantly. What the hell are we going to sing about? I got the last egg of waffle. I waved to the school crossing guard, decided to spend an extra $2 on the Ultimate Selection car wash because I was feeling a little like a baller, I guess. But we can't rap a good ass day like Ice Cube could, is what I'm trying to say. The man walked us through breakfast, his time on the playground court, all the way to the end of his night. That's talent. The name of this episode is Best 90s Rap / Hip Hop Song. And what's more 90s than the following? Ice Cube referencing drop tops, pagers, beepers. He mentions Michael Jordan. He mentions the Seattle Supersonics. He mentions Yo MTV Rap, Fat Burger, Plain Dominoes, Big Fat Fannies. I mean, what is more 90s than that? Thanks to someone who analyzed the lyrics and used the context clues about Yo MTV Raps, the Lakers versus the Sonics, we now know that the day Ice Cube was rapping about took place on January 20th, 1992, which ironically enough is the same day I discovered Baywatch. So we both had a good day that day. We have a lot in common, Ice Cube and I. Anyway, this song was released in February of 1993. It was an MTV staple, and nothing was better than a late night in 1993. Finishing up your blockbuster movie that you rented, hitting a few dingers with the Oakland A's on Sega Genesis Sports Talk Baseball, microwaving a Totino's pizza, and watching MTV deep into the night because you knew you were going to have a good day because this song was going to play. I mean, you had to sit through that shitty Blind Melon Bumblebee video, but Ice Cube was waiting in the wings. This song peaked at number 15 on the Billboard, Ice Cube's highest charting song. And Ice Cube commented on the concept and inspiration of this classic by saying, the inspiration was my life at the time. I was on top of the rap game. It was the summer of 1992 when I wrote it. I was in a hotel room, really in a state of euphoria. I had all the money I'd ever dreamed of. I was in a good frame of mind. And I remember thinking, okay, there's been riots, reflecting on the Rodney King beating. People know I deal with all that. What about rapping about a good day? I'd never rap about the good times I had. So that inspired him to put this song out. Ice Cube says it's a fictional song, but what a picture perfect day his mind creates. You're a young man in 1992. What can a better day consist of? A great breakfast, right? Nobody fucks with you. You're killing it on the basketball court. You're hanging out with your friends. You're winning money playing dominoes. You have some drinks and you smoke a little. And at the end, you end the night with a big old fat ass and a cheeseburger. I mean, what a fucking day, right? Of course, a perfect day for me nowadays is every day they push back student loan debt repayment date. You know, that's the perfect day for me. Cube is at his apex. This song is paired with a brilliant sample by the Isley Brothers' Footsteps in the Dark. How is this not the best rap song in the 90s when it encapsulates everything so adroitly? This is quintessential 90s song. Not only one of the best 90s rap songs, one of the best 90s songs of the decade. Bob and Joseph, you better check yourselves before you wreck yourselves. What do you got to say about this?
Chicken and check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Man, this is one of my favorite songs, not only of this time and genre, just in general. I can't count how many times I've cruised to this song, how many times I've intentionally put it on at the end of the night, driving home. It's got a great sound. It's more, because, you know, I'm a mellow guy too. So even though I love, you know, gangster rap and, you know, maybe a more aggressive sound on rap, I do love the good flow, the good funk. And that's perfect with this song because, you know, with the sampling of the Isley Brothers, it reminds me of my pick, even though it was obviously years later. The lyrics are great. It's a good story. My only knock on this, I'll admit that this is a tremendous pick, and Ice Cube is one of my favorite rappers and musicians. He was featured on a Korn album, so to me that's even better. That just makes you even cooler. He was featured on Korn's Follow the Leader album on a song called Children of the Corn. Great song. I know you talk about it being the best of the 90s, but an argument that somebody or that you all might make, or that kind of Bob said about mine, how it was maybe at the or both of you at the, you know, my pick was more at the tail end of the 90s, so it was kind of a leadway into what was coming in the 2000s. A lot of great songs that we mentioned in the very beginning came out after this one. This one came out very early in the 90s, so to call it the best of the 90s, I mean, really just nitpicking here because I do love this song. I just think maybe it's a little too early in the decade to say this is the best, because we had so many other good songs come out later on. And while there was a lot of great songs before mine, at least we know what was in front of mine so that I can say that mine was the best anyway. I don't know. What about you, Bob?
It sounds very sexual. Very sexual. Yeah, I'm gonna have to side a little bit with Joseph, but Rand, of course it's fiction. Because it's a bunch of fucking lies. There's no fucking way that this guy had a day like he's in a hotel and then he's saying his mom made him breakfast. Give me a fucking break. Triple double, my ass. Ice Cube's got to be like 5'9.5". How tall was he? He used to step up to get into that car when he drove those kids around. What's the name of that fucking movie? He's in the SUV.
Are we there yet?
SUV. Yeah, are we there yet? Whatever it was. Not that fucking big. You're getting triple doubles. Get the fuck out of here. Getting the fat burger. No way it's better than Whataburger. Just throwing that out. Whataburger's a shit. I don't care what anybody else says. Can't come to Texas and eat In-N-Out. Who eats In-N-Out? Whataburger. You got to go to Whataburger. This is one of my favorite songs. This is the end of the night song, the cruise song, the laid back song. It's really, 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 all jokes aside, it's really great. One of my favorite hip hop / rap songs of the 90s for me, of all time, really. I'll listen to this song whenever. Like I said, the Justin nailed it. Cruising home at the end of the night, you know, on a weekend, you know, it just hits perfectly, right? I think that this is, if we're doing top 5, top 10, this would definitely fit the category. Again, if I mention the Mount Rushmore, I think that Ice Cube's just on the outside looking in. I think he'd probably be number 5 on the Mount Rushmore. I still think that Dre and Snoop and Tupac and Biggie are just a little bit ahead of him as far as that's concerned. It's a great song. It's a great pick. I don't think that it's the best of the 90s because I just don't feel like it's sung by the best rapper of the 90s. It's a great song, dude. Ice Cube has always been cool with me. He puts out some really great music, and I kind of agree with Joseph. I don't know, man. He has. I mean, I don't know if because the song came out in 1992 or whatever, that it was way too early to decide. I think that it doesn't matter where they fall. If it's a great song, it's a great song. As long as it sounds like a song from the 90s. I actually think this rap song can sound like a song from the early 90s to late 90s to early 2000s to late 2000s. I think it fit anywhere in that category. It's just a great rap song.
You know what's weird about this song? Just before
the lies.
Well, the lies. Well, that too, because I mean, ain't no way you got a beat from Kim, because that's just not happening.
She could do it all night.
Put her mom made him he had bacon and a hamburger. His cholesterol levels are up through the roof. You know
what's interesting about this song is we call this the end of the night song. We both mentioned that, and
it's a good category topic.
It's yeah.
Closing.
It's got
it's pick that, you fucking guys.
The weird mirror version of this song to me is How We Do It. That's the starter of the night. His other hit, How We Do It.
I thought you were talking about Montel Jordan.
No. Which was released, I think, on the next album. If you've heard, How We Do It, that's another cool, mellow, vibing, Ice Cube song where they're talking about like. We're just like about partying and whatnot. It's not a recap of the night, but they're kind of like, I don't know, mirror opposites. And it's weird. I like both songs, and you can play one in the beginning of the night and play the other at the end of the night. It's pretty crazy.
I was a little worried, and Bob, you were kind of right there when you mentioned "Are we there yet?" I was getting a little nervous because I thought you were going to say, "How could like the best rapper of the '90s come out in a movie like this?" Because there's that famous picture of where he's in a canoe and he has a big old smile on his face. Yeah. And you're like,
how much money they paid me to do this shit.
Well, that's what it was all about. But I do want to break down one thing, the triple double. So first of all, almost impossible to get a triple double in a pickup game. Because let's assume they're playing up to 21. Ice Cube is what? Probably about 5'8". So what's his triple double? It's got to be points, but then it's hard to score double digit points when you're playing. Let's just say they're playing 21. He scores like 11. Rebounds, assists. How do you get? It's hard to get assists and points on a 20-point game and have them both be double digits unless he assisted on every point or scored every point. Rebounds, I don't know. Steals, I would believe, not blocks. But what do you think the triple double consists of?
The burger that he ate that night. I always get Rand at least once. I get him at least once to do that laugh. Once and ever. I've done my job. Good night, folks. I'll see y'all.
There you go. That's a clip. Okay, I guess we could just. How can you top that answer? Okay, so let's go on. We'll just say points, assists, and steals. Anyway, I want to have a serious discussion about this, but you guys fucked me up.
Hey. 7:30. No, anyway.
7:30.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Steady Mobbing. Let me just say that.
I love Steady Mobbing.
I know you love Steady Mobbing. That's why. I'm surprised you didn't go with that one. But I mean, obviously, I know we got Bob. Get Bob going. Great song. Great pick, Randy. Finally, you picked something that I didn't fucking hate.
Yeah, and I think it's a better song than Steady Mobbing as well, dude. I think
it is. It is.
It really is his best song, in my personal view.
Bob, let's go with you. Last pick of the night.
Randall. I went with one of the guys off the Mount Rushmore of rap and hip hop of the 90s. I went with Snoop Dogg, Gin and Juice, off his debut album, Doggy Style. Again, produced by Dr. Dre, released by Death Row Records, which was huge in the early 90s. This is one of the best rap/hip hop albums of the entire 90s. Had Gin and Juice, Lottie Dottie, Murder Was a Case, Who Am I, The Shiznit, and Gin and Juice was released in 1994, and it piggybacked off the success of Who Am I, which I think is another great song from Snoop Dogg, especially being his debut album. Just a few numbers, Gin and Juice reached number 8 on the Billboard Top 100. And was nominated for a Grammy Award in 1995 for Best Rap Solo Performance. This is the song that I think of as soon as I hear Best Song of the 90s or 90s rap song, Best 90s rap song or 90s rap or hip hop music. Snoop Dogg, Gin and Juice comes to mind. It's yes, there was Tupac and Biggie and Dre, but Snoop Dogg, I mean, he emerged as this superstar of 90s hip hop. He became almost a celebrity in a way. He's definitely a celebrity now. He was above and beyond what the other rappers were. He wasn't, Tupac was rapping and poetry and activism, and Biggie was rapping. He had this great East Coast sound. Dr. Dre was telling you all his accolades, and what was Snoop Dogg talking about? Smoking and having fun and throwing house parties and doing this great stuff. And it was kind of very relatable, his style of rap music. And even though it's a different culture and a different time, like you could relate to his music and his lyrics and the shit that he was rapping about. The music video itself was fantastic, and it was epic. It's about a kid throwing a house party while his parents are away. And, they're doing all that crazy shit. They're smoking, they're drinking. Everybody's got their cup, but they didn't pitch in. What the fuck's up with that? I think that, and then the parents get home early and kick them out in some kind of hilarious way. I think that the music video was very funny, very house party-esque, which is a really big movie in the 90s. So I think it fit a lot of molds, and it touched on a lot of pop culture, which a lot of the other rappers and hip-hop artists at the time maybe weren't doing, and maybe this is why it kind of pushed him into superstardom, because not only were the lyrics great, were his raps great, was the music great, the hooks, the chorus, and all that good stuff, and a lot of his songs, but he was kind of pushing the pop culture, and he was a lot of people were interested in that and connecting to that because of his music videos. Now, one thing that Snoop Dogg doesn't get credit for is his voice. Dr. Dre had this deep voice. Tupac, very similar. Notorious B.I.G., very similar as well. This deeper voice. Snoop Dogg has like a different sound to him. Maybe it's all the smoking. Maybe it's the fact that he's like 100 pounds wet, at the time. He's really skinny and lanky. But this like nasally rap voice comes out, and it was so fucking great and so fucking different. And I think this is why Eazy-E hits so really well on NWA. I always said Eazy-E sounds like I didn't get it with his voice. Like a lot of people love him, and I think he's good, but I didn't like his voice wasn't the type of voice that registered with me. But Snoop Dogg, man, his voice is so different. His rapping style was so different. And again, Josie used this word, which I really love, funk. It wasn't just gangster rap, because it was gangster rap, but it also had some funk to it. It also had some chorus to it. It had lines in it and chorus to it that you could sing along with. It had beats that would get stuck in your head, like that stupid Burger King jingle. He was just a man in creating that. And of course, Dr. Dre helped him create that, but he created a monster, because Snoop Dogg ended up being the most successful, at least from my personal view, rapper of the 90s and 2000s and on, because he endured and he continued to put out albums and become this huge celebrity and actor, because he was part of that pop culture. So this is my pick. And I know that Snoop Dogg, I know one of your arguments is going to be, oh, well, he had this song and he had this song and he had this song. You should have gone with that song. Yeah. Agreed. And I agree 1,000,000%. But this is the song that registers, and this song sounds so much so like the 90s hip hop / rap song. It's a little bit gangster. It's a little bit hip hop. It's a little bit commercial. It's a little bit got a little bit of a badass groove. It's got a great chorus. You know what I mean? Tanqueray and Chronic now, fucked up now. Love that line. What do y'all think about it?
Gin and Juice, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg, as we know, he's been around forever. I mean, he's a guy that we know Snoop now more so for just being Snoop Dogg than being the rapper, or the hip hop artist or the musician. I mean, we see him in commercials, we see him in talk shows. He's everywhere. And, this is coming from a guy, Snoop Dogg, probably the best freestyle rapper of all time. I was listening to some of his albums, and Doggy Style is a classic. It's, it's his debut album. I mean, you listen to it from start to finish. After that, I listened to a few of his other albums, and it just didn't have I don't want to call him a one album wonder, because we usually think of one album wonders as artists who fade out after an album, but Snoop has never left. But what he did was he did a very important thing. He transitioned into a collaborator, and I'll get more to that in a bit, but I felt that was a very important point to make, how he actually did a very smart thing where even though he wasn't the main attraction, the main event in a song, he became one of the most important collaborators of late 90s all the way till modern day. First of all, I love watching these old rap videos, and everyone is using like landlines and bikes, things that we don't see anymore. So it's just a great sort of nostalgic throwback. I love Snoop Dogg. As I mentioned before, if Willie Nelson is any indication about the lifespan of a habitual weed smoker, Snoop Dogg's going to be around for many years. But when he dies, and that's going to be a sad day because Snoop feels like he's just been everywhere, he should be like canonized, because we all love Snoop Dogg. He's like a saint. We need to praise his name. Anyway, as much as I like this song, to me, I don't see it as one of the best 90s rap songs. And I know, Bob, you kind of made the point argument before. We can mention a lot of other songs that Snoop was on. But my argument is going to pivot towards, I've always liked Snoop better as a collaborator. which I started off my argument with. He's brilliant. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant, but something about him being teamed up with someone makes him better. He's like Christoph Waltz or Willem Dafoe. I want to watch them do their shticks and play up, their roles in the movie theater, and I want to admire them, enjoy their talents, but I certainly don't want to watch a movie where they're the main characters. I think the supporting concept of these actors and Snoop Dogg is what the most important talent aspect is of their presence. I love them. My favorite YouTube comment on this video is that Snoop Dogg is the only person who could have the hairstyle of a 5-year-old and still look cool as hell. It's hard to hate. It's hard to hate on this song because Snoop is such a likable guy, and the freestyle throughout the entire album. I mean, it's a relic. You don't see rappers do that anymore. Rappers are so produced and so precise. You don't hear their real voices anymore. Everything's auto-tune or mumble rap or way overproduced, and it's just a talent you don't see anymore. So I appreciate Snoop for having this very just raw energy and talent that he introduced to us. Great song, great album, but Snoop is someone who I love listening to when he adds an element to a song. His collaborations are my favorite things about him. This song sort of floats along. It's fun, it's playful, and I know Snoop is very young, and you write what you know about, right? That's why he's writing about parties and about, staying home alone, because he was 18, 19 at the time when this album came out. And we know what we're getting with Snoop and it feels like he's like 60 years old, but he's still a young guy. But we know what we're getting with Snoop during this era of his career. He unabashedly knows who he is. But if you're talking 90s Snoop Dogg, and you mentioned it about Nothing But a G Thing, the next episode, Deep Cover, Dre Day, Snoop's addition to these songs is so good. And all these songs are collaborations that I prefer him as the knockout punch to a combo rather than just battling it on his own. But love the song, but I love Snoop more as a collaborator. Joseph, what do you think?
Is that the combo that Ice Cube ordered at Pat Burger? Sorry. Go ahead, Joseph.
Sadie. Come on, somebody was supposed to say the next part.
Used to be my homeboy's lady.
then
I was about to drink water.
80 degrees when I tell this bitch, please.
We gotta cut that.
Why not?
Honestly, I think as much as I love What's My Name, Who Am I, What's My Name, I think his best song off of this album is Gin and Juice, and the second would be Murder Was the Case. I would two very different songs, but I just think they're way better than some better than
Who Am I?
Than the rest of them. Yeah, and Doggy Dog World, even though I like Doggy Dog World, I think in the question of who is the better rapper or rapist or
I'll take the rapist for 500.
Lyricist,
therapist,
whatever you want to, however you want to describe him. No question, it's going to be Snoop. Like Randy was mentioning earlier, his flow, his voice, and how Bob said his voice. I don't know, man. Like when you go back and listen to early, like obviously his first album and anything that he did in the early '90s with where he was featured on either a Dr. Dre song or something else. I mean, his how this guy slipped through, he made it on Death Row, and I guess that was the biggest label at the time. But anybody that missed him, like any other record label or any other whatever, and the people that dissed him, like I know it was a label thing. So there's a lot of diss tracks that Eazy-E wrote, mainly Eazy and the Ruthless Records crew, that talking shit about Snoop. But damn, you cannot deny his style and his voice and his flow, and it was just great. This is a really awesome song. Probably my favorite of, like I mentioned earlier, of Snoop songs. I didn't really think about that whole like one album wonder thing until Randy mentioned it, and real quickly I just looked at his albums and the songs and singles that followed after that, and it's kind of weird, they weren't as big or
Impact, like one big hit, and there was usually collaborations,
And then it wasn't until later on, well, obviously the collaboration, and that's not a knock on him because he can be. I mean, just most recently he does a song with Eminem, and it's a fucking good song. I can't.
He also smokes weed with what's her name, Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart. I think that, as far as like this topic and when people are going to pick a winner, just based on, the style and the rapping and whatnot. Another early song too, 94, album in 93, late 93, single released in 94 in January. So kind of right in the middle. So I think this is a good spot to maybe pick a song or to, to say this is the best song. And kind of like how I mentioned with what Bob said, that G-funk sound. And it was, I don't know, I think these songs like this flowed better or in this style of gangster rap or whatever, or music, G-funk music. What the fuck was that? Sorry.
My daughter, she
wants more chocolate milk now.
Yes.
Right now.
Man, I obviously we love these songs, and it's kind of hard to pick who's the best, and I don't hate this pick one bit. This is a really great song. Hard for me to argue anything against it. I mean, it came out. I can't argue that it came out too early. I can't. I think it came out around the right time. Perfect songs, man. Really, really good stuff. Leave it up to the listeners.
That interruption really puts things into perspective. We're talking about songs that we like partied with, grew up on, and then now we're like, well, now we got to give more chocolate milk to the kids before they go to sleep. It just really puts everything into perspective. I will say one last thing about Snoop Dogg, the way he pronounces words. I mean, it's almost like he develops this like unique accent all to his own. I mean, the way he says baby, the way he says, these other words, it's like he's an innovator. And I think there's no knock on him. Yes, Doggy Style is his best album. I don't think anything compares to it, but he made good career decisions. He collaborated with Eminem, continued to collaborating with Dre and all these other artists. Who else has he done work with?
Pharrell.
Yeah. Pharrell and
everybody.
Katy Perry. He's done a lot of work with a lot of mainstream artists, so he's kept his name alive. And hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, Snoop Dogg, you can't hate on that, man.
Now he's doing Corona commercials.
Yes, making a buck there, guys. Any things to, no pun intended, wrap up with in terms of what you guys want to talk about?
And there's our weekly dad joke, folks.
Well, it's funny because Joseph said that new metal gets a bad rap, and I was gonna say, well, new metal is bad rap, but then I thought you guys were gonna make fun of my dad joke. Anyway,
that would have been good. That would have been good. Would have been good. God, all right, you missed on that one. You're gonna miss.
I know.
No, I think this is a great topic. It's really, really funny, and a lot of our audience is probably like, these guys are really into rock, because we've talked 70s rock, 60s rock, 90s rock, every kind of rock. We've been talking about doing this 90s hip hop + rap show since like week one. We've had it, we put it on our list, and we're kind of like, oh, this and this show and this topic and this topic, and we kind of like added to our shows based on what we're talking about, what we're really into at the time. But we've been saying for the longest, and maybe for like the past 2 years. By the way, it'll be our 2-year anniversary in like 2 weeks, guys. Can you believe that shit?
Yes.
It's really, really crazy. We've been talking about doing the show for a long, long time. So it's a really cool change of pace. Last week we did country. This week we're doing rap. Next week we'll talk bluegrass or something stupid. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's really cool. I'm glad we're able to do this show. This was a big part of my childhood and my teenage years and growing up. This music I used to listen to religiously. I still listen to if I go for a run, I'm not listening to Metallica while I'm running. That's for lifting weights. I'm listening to rap and hip hop and shit like with a good groove to keep me going. And when I throw up, I want to be able to act tough afterwards. So I listen to Snoop Dogg. But this is my type of music. We, as much as Joseph loves metal, he also loves like mellow groove songs. He also loves classical. He also loves hip hop and rap. And I think we all kind of fit that category where we like an eclectic mix. Not so much Arcade Fire, sorry, Rand, but we. I'm sorry, I had to throw that shot in there. But we like an eclectic mix of music, and we hope our fans are really into this. I know for a fact a lot of our fans that listen to this, that are going to listen to the show, grew up in the '90s, were teens in the '90s, and they could definitely relate and have their top pick or their top choice for whatever their best rap or hip hop song they have in their mind.
I think that what I talked about earlier was, and why I picked the song that I picked, how I mentioned that, it was a nice segue into what was to come. I mentioned a few names earlier, the whole early 2000s rap, the Ja Rule stuff, the Lil Wayne, the Kanye West, the 50 Cents, it's a different sound. I think Randy mentioned it earlier. It sounds, it's more produced, it's more published, it's not as raw. And I think there was obviously a shift. People wanted to party, I guess, so a lot of these songs in the early 2000s, they got more of a dance, beat to them, a club beat. And that's cool. I mean, they're great songs. We love them. We listen to them as well. But I think it's this genre of music's influence will never go away. And I love to hear it. Its influence on artists like, I haven't heard him in a while, so I can't like say I'm a super huge fan, but I look at somebody like Kid Cudi and Lupe Fiasco specifically. I thought like his early sound. Yeah, another musician that had two albums come out, in the early 2000s. Kick Push, I thought it was a great song. It had the old school beats to it. Lupe Fiasco's The Core album, I think, is so highly influenced by old school 90s hip hop. He's even got Snoop Dogg on one of those songs. Bob knows one of Super Paris Tokyo. That's a great fucking song. You listen to Paris Tokyo by Lupe Fiasco. It's so old school. The beats, the songs. I don't think this will ever go away, and I hope it never does. I don't believe it ever will. And I love to hear its influence on. I was a big fan of Kendrick Lamar's early work because he grew up in Compton. He idolized Dr. Dre and that sound, and I thought he really took that and used it for his own style in his early music. He's gotten a little bit more artsy now so it's, whatever. It is what it is.
Artsy fartsy.
But I hear that influence and on some rappers today, and I like to hear that, the ones that actually get a good flow going, and it's not just, what was it, the late 2000s? It was just a lot of okay, so there was just a lot of screaming. There wasn't really any lyrics. Don't get me wrong, I love Lil Jon, but what the fuck did Lil Jon actually rap? He just kept yelling. He just kept yelling shit.
So I Baytown down.
So I love to hear music that comes out today that's highly influenced by 90s hip hop, because I love those old school beats, man. I really do.
You cannot deny the impact that 90s hip hop had to mainstream pop, because even as far back, when Michael Jackson released Black or White, he had a rap chorus in there. So it was like, how do we get this more and more into the mainstream? And when you started having these actors or anybody who started singing pop music, Jennifer Lopez, for example, she had LL Cool J, Ja Rule, and all these rappers appearing in her appearing in her songs, because that's what was cool. That's what was hip. And you had that cred with these rappers who were, now making their way into mainstream pop. And it wasn't as raw or wasn't as bold or dangerous or unique as it was in the early 90s, when it was just specifically just rap. But you can't deny its influence on mainstream pop culture. That's how powerful it was. And it's probably the most important genre of the 90s, because it became, this big thing that just engulfed, an entire generation. Guys, any other last words, recommendations, quick thoughts?
Don't forget, guys, we have our store open.
Yes.
Check out we got hoodies, we got t-shirts, we got coffee mugs, we got pint glasses. I'm probably not even going to make any money, because I've already ordered myself a bunch of shit, me and the wife, like coffee mugs, hoodies, t-shirts. I've ordered a hoodie, I've ordered a t-shirt, I've ordered a coffee mug, just so I can walk in someplace and people are like, who the fuck is that guy on your shirt? Why is there a goat on your hoodie? Yeah, we have some really cool merch brought to you by Creative Little Pill. She does some great artwork for us. She does all our cover art. She did some really, really cool stuff for our store. So check me out, buy some. We're not making, like I said, we're making pennies on the damn dollar for anything that you buy. It's really just you all have some of our merch, maybe people see you with it and ask you about it, and you turn them on to our little podcast here that's becoming very big very quickly, which is pretty crazy, like prom night, right? So I'm really happy about that, and we thank all our fans for really tuning in and for continuing. We're having a great month so far. It's pretty remarkable.
We're having a great month. 2 episodes in, one of our biggest months in January. There are people listening to old episodes that we connected with friends who have just been huge supporters. And of course, next week when we talk, we're not going to have a traditional anniversary episode, but it is something that we're going to mention throughout the episode, no doubt. So that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what your favorite 90s rap/hip hop song is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com. And you can follow us on all social media platforms by searching for Formidable Opponents. Once again, we want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. That really helps us out. And join us next episode as we discuss our most memorable Super Bowl moments. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see you all next week.